A proof of concept is, by definition, an evidence which demonstrates that a concept is feasible. Over the last 2 decades, some first-time feature directors have used short films as a proof of concept. By doing so, they have managed to convince studios to fund their own projects. Filmmakers such as Zack Snyder with the film 300, or even Robert Rodriguez with Sin City, are amongst the list of the many directors that use this method. However, should a proof of concept short film be seen as a standard short film? Today, I will be discussing the main differences between a standard short film and a proof of concept short in order to prove whether or not this kind of film production belongs to the category of a conventional short film. To do so, I will be using Damien Chazelle's award-winning short film Whiplash as an example. After completing his feature Guy in the Madeline on a Park Bench, Damien Chazelle was on the process of pitching his next feature. The project's name was Whiplash, a story about a jazz drummer that craves to become one of the greatest and his music teacher that violently pushes him to the limit.
And so I wrote this script and, for sort of obvious reasons, had trouble convincing people to finance a jazz drummer movie. I was lucky enough to find, these producers in LA. It was really those guys who had the idea to, okay, let's see, maybe a way to actually get access to financing for this is to just take a scene from it and do it as a sort of standalone short.
The short premiered at the Sundance Film Festival with a great reception from the audience, which followed the award for Best Fiction Short and the nomination for the jury prize at the festival. The film was picked up by Sony Pictures Classics and led on to a successful run at the Oscars. Chazelle is one of the main examples of how short film as a proof of concept can be used to jumpstart a successful career. However, should a scene from a feature spec script ever be considered a short film in its essence? Before analyzing this question, it is important to understand the differences between a proof of concept short and a standard short film. In an article for the website Tongal, Big Pond Pictures affirms that a standard short film has just a beginning, a middle, and an end. It is a contained story that is not made under the purpose of further development in a feature film. However, a proof of concept short film has a beginning, middle, end, and an opportunity of further development in the feature format. At the end of Whiplash, the protagonist Andrew is afraid of how his teacher violently threatened to expel him from his band. It immediately cuts to black after Fletcher walks away, which leaves the audiences asking, what will happen next? This is a very effective cliffhanger that went on to be explored on the format of a feature. However, theorists like Richard Raskin have written some articles that may disprove works like Whiplash to be categorized as a short film. In the article 5 Parameters for Story Design in Short Fiction Film, writer Richard Raskin presents 5 parameters that compose the essence of a fully operative short film. To understand them, let's look at Whiplash and how Damien Chazelle makes use of each one of these parameters. Starting with causality and choice. Gerald Prince wrote, "Any story must have at least 2 events which not only occur at different times, but are also causally related. Causality and choice refer to a chain of cause and effect relationships. The characters which interact are then to make a choice which is a consequence of their interaction. In Whiplash, Andrew interacts mostly with his teacher, Fletcher. We start the film with Andrew inside the room, waiting for everyone to arrive to class. However, there is no given information to the why of him being there before everyone else. We understand that he is a new student through his interaction with his classmate before Fletcher arrives.
I'm Andrew Newman.
So why was he there before all the others, and how did he get there? If we watch the feature film, we know that Andrew wants to be in Fletcher's class from the opening scene.
You know who I am?
Yes, sir.
So you know I'm looking for players.
Yes, sir.
Then why did you stop playing?
We know that he craves to be a successful musician, and we also know that Fletcher is the one who brings him to his class.
Room B16 tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Don't be late.
This interaction is what leads Andrew to come to class early, as he wants to impress Fletcher. However, the short breaks the sense of causality and choice, since we can't understand the causality that led Andrew to be in the class early without previous context from the feature film. Consistency and surprise. Aristotle has said that every character should be consistent and the same throughout. And if inconsistency is a part of the character's trait, then he should be consistently inconsistent. This means that characters should have a central core of attributes established right at the beginning of the short film, which will allow the audience to understand them. In the beginning of Whiplash, we see Andrew excited and nervously waiting for the class to begin, therefore establishing him as a dedicated and concerned student. However, a consistent character is not exempt of surprises. A good example of this is how Andrew cries when Fletcher shouts at him. This builds on his dedication. As a concerned student, he arrived in time, excited to begin his studies. When put to the test and violently treated, he breaks, revealing his fragile traits.
Could I have a B flat, please?
Image and sound. The dynamic between sound and image is important to any type of film. This is used as an element of mise-en-scène, where the sound can be used to create meanings towards certain objects, characters, and sceneries. The short Whiplash makes good use of both these elements in order to characterize the order and discipline of Fletcher's students. The short enhances certain sound cues, such as the tuning of the instruments, in order to create a dynamic work amongst the band, while also creating tension upon the teacher's arrival. Character and object. Raskin wrote that, in many cases, an object is a central focus in a short film, and the interplay of characters with the object is an essential part of the life of the film. In Whiplash, the drum set is the object that creates the interplay between Andrew and Fletcher. It is through the drum set that we understand the dynamic between the student and the teacher, as Fletcher corrects Andrew beat after beat while he plays.
And 5, 6, 7.
Simplicity and depth. A short film operates in a limited time frame, therefore it is important that the events that occur in that time are clear to the audience. From that, we can understand the depth of the story, which comes from the underlying means of what happens on the film. In Whiplash, we look at Andrew as a character who's passionate about drumming and clearly wants to make a good impression on his teacher. In the other hand, when we look at Fletcher, we see a man who likes to play with his students, pushing them to the limit through his abusive means.
Then why the fuck didn't you say so?
When it comes to Raskin's theory, Whiplash only fails to deliver the causality choice parameter for story design. Is this enough for it not to be considered a short film? Bevin Yateman seems to disagree with that. In his article, What Makes a Short Film Good, he states that short films become something we define because of the context we place it in. His statement seems to imply that short film is a volatile media. If we look at a proof of concept short film from Yateman's perspective, then we could argue that it could be a short film, since it is simply put into a different context, this being the one of the director, who is doing a scene from his feature spec script. The opinions on this matter seem to be diverse. However, we can argue that even with some differences, proof of concept short films demonstrate a lot of the same characteristics of a standard short film, from its time run to the construction of the story.